Now, in the past decade, rates of psychological distress and self-harm among young people have risen sharply across the country and much of the developed world. And when you look at what teens are dealing with today, well, you can understand why they are struggling. You know, there's climate change, there's the explosion of social media, there's the hangover impact of COVID lockdowns, and that's just to name a few.
Yeah, but the ABC has spoken to some kids who have found resilience, connection and a sense of purpose, and want others to hear their story.
Yeah, looking back now, it was a very difficult time in my life, I would say, especially being the oldest. I started drinking when I was really young. I would say 12, 13, which is a very bad age because your brain is not even yet developed. I wanted to feel something. I didn't want to feel normal. I didn't want to feel sober. I feel like self-harming came into play when I started becoming more reckless and rebellious against my parents especially. Yeah, I didn't want to feel this responsibility anymore. I wanted to be a kid, you know? I wanted to be a teenager and have fun and go out. I feel like spiritually getting in touch with my relationship with God really helped me. I really started to appreciate the smaller things around me, just in going outside and not being on my phone too much. One of my hobbies that I do is music. I get to just have time to myself. It's like a therapy session. Find things that you love to do and just stick with them, but make sure it's good stuff. But yeah, like make small changes every single day and you'll see the bigger result at the end. Yeah.
Some wisdom there. Now, Professor Harriet Hiscock is a paediatrician and researcher at the Murdoch Children's Research Institute. She joins us now. Thank you so much for joining us. Professor Hiscock, what happens developmentally when kids turn into teenagers that means that they can sometimes struggle a lot with their mental health?
Yeah, well, there's quite a few things going on, Jo. They actually start to prune out a lot of the connections that they don't need in their brain anymore. And that happens from the back of the brain slowly over the years to the front part of the brain. So what happens is the back of the brain starts to reorganize itself, but that's the emotional part of our brain where we can make decisions without thinking. We're very driven by our emotions. We can become quite aggressive or irritable. And the last thing to develop at the age of 24 years is our prefrontal cortex, which helps us focus and concentrate and plan. So adolescents are really sort of super emotionally charged, but they don't have the handbrake of perhaps making decisions sensibly and stopping and thinking before they might take a risk.
And so when you look at what's going on in the world around us and what might be playing on the minds of our young people, you can understand why, given that the developmental changes they're also going through, that things can start to feel really overwhelming. How important are the pre-teen years and equipping them for those teen years?
Yeah, look, they're absolutely crucial, and I think that's where parents and adults in their life come in, because we can be good role models for them. We can reflect to our pre-teens, look, I'm really frustrated with X today that happened at work. But instead of going off and berating someone or throwing a chair or something, this is how I handled it and this is what I did. So I think we can try and set up our pre-teens to understand that adolescence can be a turbulent time, but as we heard from the young person in our story, there's good ways of having an outlet around this, and there's small changes that you can make that build up to big things to try and get you through adolescence in a way that doesn't do any harm to others and doesn't do harm to yourself.
What might be some of those small things?
Well, I think it is recognising as parents that we need to cut our adolescents a little bit of slack. So in addition to their brain changes, one of their jobs, their tasks, is to become an adult and to grow away from us as parents. So we can no longer really dictate what our adolescent young person might do, and their peer group will become more important. But some of the things we can do is make sure we still maintain connections and communication with them. So going for a weekly walk or a drive is a great place to to just check in and say, how are you going at school? How are you going with your friendships? Is anyone annoying you? Are you having any difficulties? So checking in is really important. Making sure they get, the boring things, getting enough sleep, which is often a challenge with adolescents, eating pretty well, having some form of exercise, all those sort of good pillars of health that we know about also become really important.
As you say, it's developmentally normal for them to be going through changes at this time and perhaps distancing themselves from their parents. Parents might, or carers might notice emotional changes going on. Where's the line between that normal change of behaviour and when there really is a problem and you need to seek extra help?
Yeah, it's a great question, Jo, because it can be quite blurred and difficult for families to understand and work out. But there's a couple of things. One is, how long has this been going on for? So if you've got an adolescent or a preteen who seemed really low in their mood, they seem flat, and it's going on for 3 weeks or more, that's a warning sign. That's a red flag. And the other thing is, if it's stopping them doing the things that they really used to enjoy, so they no longer want to go and play basketball on the weekends, they no longer want to hang out with their mates, those sorts of things. If they used to enjoy going to school, there's often a drop-off in enjoying going to school when they hit the pre-teens and teenage years. But if they really stop enjoying it, that's another concern. So it's about how long it's been going on for and the impact of it on things that they normally enjoyed doing.
And if you see those warning signs, what then?
Well, I think this is the challenge, isn't it, at the moment, because we would say see your GP, see a psychologist, but the waiting list can be really long. So still get that in motion. Go and see the school counsellor, who's often an excellent resource and knows this age group really well. But there's also some wonderful websites. There's Reach Out Australia, there's Beyond Blue, there's the Raising Children Network website, and they've all got evidence-based resources for young people. Some of them have online chat moderated forums that the young person can go on and start to chat with people just a little bit older than themselves who have been through what they've been through and can really connect with them.
Professor Harriet Hiscock, it's wonderful to have you on Weekend Breakfast this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And if you need information or support, you can contact Beyond Blue on 1300 224636, or if you or someone you know is experiencing distress, please contact Lifeline on 13 11 14.